What's up, y'all? This is Brother Ali, chilling out on GermanRhymes.de. I'm gonna talk to my man a little bit. Stay right here and check it out. It was the most amazing thing I ever did. It was like the day that your children are born, but it lasts for a month. Seriously, it really, I mean, it's a life-changing thing. You know, I became a Muslim when I was 15, and so it was half of my life, you know what I mean? And all those years of practicing Islam, sometimes practicing very, very strong, other times getting a little weaker. You know, faith is something that is always increasing or decreasing. And so you have to, you know, you have to always work on it, just like everything else. You know, human beings are physical, mental, and spiritual, and all those things, if we're not increasing them, you know, like if we're not constantly increasing our body, then we're getting fat, and you know what I mean? If we're not always reading and studying and thinking things, then our minds start getting weaker, and our spirituality is the same way. So all these years I was, you know, practicing Islam. But I never left Islam. Even when I wasn't as strong as other times, I never left Islam. I never left the Muslim disciplines. You know, as a lifestyle, I might make a mistake, but as a lifestyle, I never left Islam all those years. But you know, and then I had years where I was very, very involved, intensely. You know, but when I went to Mecca was the first time that you know, after that was the first time that I really felt like I saw what Islam really is, and you know, it just really fortified me. Well, I mean, Islam is it's a universal religion, and it basically is the unifier of all religions. You know what I mean? We believe in all of the prophets. We believe in all of the systems of spirituality, and it basically is. But you know, but at their core, they were all saying the same thing. You know what I mean? All of these teachers that came throughout time to teach human beings how to be a complete person. You know, if you get down to their core essence of what they were saying, that's what Islam is. And so you know, to practice Islam is to really make an attempt at being a complete human being and have a complete human life that, like I said, is physical and mental and spiritual. It includes family, it includes community, it includes you know, having healthy business. You know, it basically is just a guideline and sets a foundation for all of the most important parts of human life, and establishes a way that we can live our complete life in a way that's healthy for us, healthy for the world, and successful. You know what I mean? It basically, you know, we don't believe that you have to be a shady business person to get ahead. We believe that you can practice honest, good, genuine, solid business and be successful. You know, we don't believe that you have to, you know, beat yourself up spiritually to be a good person. You know what I mean? We don't believe in living with guilt. We don't believe that guilt should be part of spirituality. We don't live with guilt. You know what I mean? When we've reached a consciousness to realize that something that we've done hurt other people, you know, we strive to change that within ourselves. We strive to make that situation right, and we move on. You know what I mean? We believe in a human being's need to be forgiven and to forgive ourselves. You know, a lot of the things that people really hate about religion, especially in Europe, people don't like religion in Europe. And they particularly don't like Islam. But a lot of the ideas that people have about what religion is, those don't exist in Islam. It doesn't mean that there aren't Muslims that do them. You know what I mean? There are people that say that they're Muslims that do anything. You know what I mean? Being a Muslim basically says that you said at some point, I think Islam is right. Yeah. So then you're a Muslim, but what you do after that is completely up to you. Yeah. You know what I mean? You could say, yes, I believe in Islam. So then technically you're a Muslim. But there are a whole lot of people that say, like, you know, I believe Coca-Cola is bad for me, but I like it. You know what I mean?
You don't have the type of tone that captivate people, motherfucker. We ain't equal, I'm above you. You look in the sky, see me. You got a mirror on the floor trying to find out me. What's this ridiculous? Blow off the head so meticulous. Every time we come through, we be ripping this, dissecting it, breaking it to little pieces. Motherfucking rhyme Jesus, you need to believe this. Follow this. Grab a microphone if I don't speak that I'ma swallow it. You don't understand my accomplishments. Big and heavy and divine and crazy. I come off the head, they say like Danny amazing. They come up in the place looking like that fried chicken man. But look at this man, see if I give a damn. We rockin' hard as hell. People in the place, you know, you can read this in prayer. Gotta pass the microphone to somebody.
Well, that's a great point. It's a great question. We're encouraged to learn Arabic so that we can read the Quran for ourselves, and even the Qurans that we have that are English, the Arabic is still in there. So it'll be the Arabic on one side, English on the other side, or Arabic on one side, German on the other side. We don't have, now there are translations that are just all English, but those aren't the ones that Muslims own. Those are mostly for non-Muslims who are curious about Islam. But for one that a Muslim would own, like somebody like me that's a native English speaker, I have mine are English on one side, Arabic on the other side. And yeah, it's very intriguing to me. And the Quran rhymes. The entire Quran has rhymes, and it's very intricate rhyme patterns. In terms of how long it took, it's easy. Arabic's a really easy language to just learn the basics and to be able to pronounce words and read. But there are grammatical things. There are grammatical signs in the Quran that are symbolic of things. So that is a lifetime thing, you know what I mean? So I mean, just being able to pick up the Quran, look at the Arabic and read it, and then look up any words you don't know in dictionaries and things like that, that'll maybe take a year. Okay. It's not difficult to do. And most American Muslims are doing. What's interesting is that a lot of the Muslim world is illiterate, though. Much of the Muslim world is far away from what Islam is, and you know, we had a time where we were called the golden era of Islam, where the North Africans and the Arab Muslims were the leaders in science and technology and mathematics and astrology or astronomy and all these kind of things. And then we allowed some things to become part of our society that we shouldn't have all those years ago, things like racial divisions and all those kind of things. And as a result, we were colonized. We became weak, and so it was easy for that part of the Muslim world to get colonized. And ever since then, people have not been rooted in their Islam. I had the luxury of not learning Islam from North Africans or Arabs or Asians or from another society. I learned Islam from the Quran. You know what I mean? And so that was a really unique vantage point to be able to just see the actual text. It's easier for me because I'm Caucasian. So I don't have the look, you know, but there is a general suspicion in the West, in Europe and in the States. And I think Europe is equal to the States in terms of oppression of Muslims. But yeah, I mean, there are policies in place, you know, people, you know, they take the people who are enemies of Islam. They take and want to demonize Islam. They take ideas and words that really do exist in Islam, but they create a different meaning for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there is a concept of jihad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Jihad is a real thing. But jihad means the struggle to make things right. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we first have the struggle to make things right inside ourselves, to tell the truth even though when it's more alluring to lie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. To talk to our children instead of yell at them. You know what I mean? This is our big, that's what jihad really is. You know what I mean? And then we have a jihad in the world to say, well, you know, these people are hungry. So, you know, I need to make that right. I need to make sure that they have food to eat. I need to make sure they live dignified lives. And there also are times where people get their guns and they want to oppress people. And when that happens, you know, then we get our guns and we fight for freedom. You know what I mean? The same way that any other human being does. You know what I mean? But what Islam does is regulate all those things. You know what I mean? So if we talk about jihad, there are rules in jihad even for fighting wars. What jihad really means is when you fight a war, you're not allowed to kill anybody that's not a soldier. You know, when people stop fighting you, you have to stop fighting them immediately. When you take prisoners in war, you have to feed them the same food that you eat. They have to wear the same clothes that you wear. You know what I mean? Jihad is freeing slaves. You know, all these things. So there are real ideas. You know, but that term in particular has become synonymous with terrorism. Yeah. You know what I mean? These people have spun this idea so that in the Western mind, they think that jihad means put a bomb on your body and blow up a cafe. And that's actually forbidden in Islam. You know what I mean? You can't kill yourself in Islam, and you can't kill innocent people in Islam. So nothing about that is Islamic, you know? Yeah. Well, Obama is very, very complex. His situation is complex, and there's a lot of different layers. Before criticizing him, because I do have criticism for him, but before criticizing him, I think it's important to know that there is still a very, very racist element in American life that he struggles with, just being himself, just being the first person that's not completely white and is president. We call him, and I mean, that ought to tell us something. The fact that we call him the first black president, but he's half black and he's half white. And he was raised by his white family in the Midwest. You know what I mean? But the fact that because he's not 100% white, we look at him as being black. That in itself gives us some idea of the racist element that's still really alive and well in America. You know, he's faced scandals, so many of the scandals about him, all of them really, all the scandals that he's faced have all been conjured, just made up out of thin air, out of suspicion, because he's not completely white. So they say, you know, Obama wasn't born in America, he's not a real citizen, we want to see his birth certificate. You know, they tried to connect him to terrorism. They tried to, you know, they try to connect him with socialism and communism and Marxism, and you know what I mean? All of these just ridiculous ideas. You know, and all of these things stem from the fact that he's not 100% white. So that's one element. So just waking up in the morning, he has more challenges than any other president has had. Along with that, the propaganda machine on the conservative side in America is more organized and more effective than it's ever been before. Like the Rupert Murdoch Fox News is the most popular news network in the United States, and they are not real journalism. It's not real news. It's slanted, biased news. So he faces that. Another one of the key things is that people criticized him when he got into power, or when he went into office, or when he was running for president, and said he didn't have a lot of experience. And what he did when he got into office was he hired people to be around him, his administration. He hired people who knew a lot about politics, but these are also old, liberals. And liberals are not necessarily progressive. Liberals are definitely not revolutionary. They're definitely not radical. He hired a lot of centrist people. And so what we have in America right now is extreme conservatives and extreme centrists, and almost no liberals. Very, very few progressives, very few real liberals. Most of the liberals are centrist, and so it's still leaning to the right, So all those things are important. Obama as a figure and as a symbol is extremely important in American life too, and that's a great thing. And he's done a lot of great things. He's done a lot of really good things that, if we honestly looked at who else would have realistically been elected, we made the best choice, because it would have been him or it would have been John McCain. Now, that being said, there's a lot to criticize Obama about in terms of just lack of courage. I never thought that he was a revolutionary. I never thought he was radical, but I believe that his heart is with the poor people, with the oppressed people, with the struggling people. But he has not shown a whole lot of courage in terms of really, really fighting for poor people. And so that's disappointing to me.
Raggedy apartment complex with a stressed out single mom sitting on the step, waiting on the mailman, looking for a check. Bodies decorated with tattoos and chains, trying to put armor between.
I think it's great. I think that people criticize the Occupy movement and say, well, they don't have a list of demands, they're not organized enough. I mean, basically, the Occupy movement comes from the people who used to be middle class, the people who are privileged. You know what I mean? Poor people and oppressed people, people of color, have had all of these problems for hundreds of years. But there was always a middle class that was privileged, and they thought it could never be them. But the nature of greed is that it can never leave it alone. The greed always destroys itself because it always has to take a little more and a little more and a little more. And as finally a part in the human soul, and this is something I believe as a Muslim, like there's something in the human soul where our souls know that we, as human beings, we're qualified for a certain level of dignity. And when that's punctured, our souls tell us that we have to fight back. You know what I mean? And so that's what the Occupy movement is. It's people that used to be middle class, people that used to feel privileged, or that you were privileged, and now they're not. And so they're in the street. And so protesting is new to a lot of them. And so, they don't know, they're still figuring out what it means and all of these things. But it's a beautiful thing, and it's really important. In terms of taking part in it, I've gone to the Occupy Minneapolis in my city, and I would like to do more. I know that in New York and in Oakland and some of those places, like, it's very real. You know what I mean? Like, there's clashes with the police and things like that. But this is part of a worldwide thing with, the Arab countries, the North African countries, and in the riots in London and, in Greece, Spain, and all around the world, we're seeing this, and it's important, and I think that rather than criticize it for being young, You know, that youthful energy is what makes it possible. It's always been youthful energy that makes changes in the world. And youthful energy doesn't know exactly what it wants. It just has a feeling for what it wants. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You holler down like Chewbacca. Sweet hot lava, some rock your moves out you. Can't fight a style, a crowd you crew around you. He rides off you, no cool rider. We slide up in Berlin and make a killing. For everyone that's willing to come see the crew chillin'. Watching and saying to the entertainment. We grab a microphone and always left your brain bent. Yes, this is the place the way we came and went. It's a big green bus that look like a swimming pool.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're not a good person, if you're not humble, if you're not here because you love the music and because it's not going to work. You know, people aren't going to, we're not a big record label, and, you know, we can't fly you around in a private jet and drive you around in a fancy car, and you're not going to get rich, and, you know. So if you're not here because you love doing this and are willing to do anything just to be able to do this, then it's not going to work. And so, yeah, you know, the kind of person that you are has everything to do with how successful you can be on Rhymesayers. There have been people that, you know, don't see it the way that we see it, and they usually don't stick around. You know what I mean? They usually end up leaving, or they just don't release anything else or whatever. But the people that really stay close are the people that view it the same way. Yeah, that's interesting as you say that, because we just had a day off in Paris, and me and the president of Rhymesayers went to the Louvre, and yeah, and spent a lot of time looking at the Egyptian section, and then we went and saw Venus de Milo and Mona Lisa and all those things too. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bonding that happens on tour. I think anybody that tours together, it's inevitable. But when you have that many people that are brought together for the fact that we love this music, and it's just the quality, the caliber of human being that's involved with Rhymesayers is just really high in general. Because like I said, it's not glamorous, and so people that are here to pump up their ego, your ego's just not going to get pumped up enough to keep you around if that's what you're in it for. So there's a lot of conversation about everything from you know, we have conversations about sneakers and all that other kind of stuff too, but a lot of it is about getting at the core of who we are as people. You know what I mean? Well, it's if the people that I'm performing for know my music, it's more fun to perform for a big group of people. But if they don't know the music and you're introducing it to them, it's more fun to have a small group of people. Yeah. Well, I have an album that I've been working on all year, and that's produced by Jake One, and that one is almost done. It just needs to be mixed, but I've recorded it, and so that album is called Morning in America and Dreaming in Color. Mourning, like M-O-U-R-N, like to mourn a death, you know. And that album will be out early next year, February or March. So that's the album that I'm really. Me and Freeway are friends, and we decided to make an album together, and he came to Minneapolis and stayed at my house for a week, and we made some songs. But he got, and we had fun, like we had a blast. It was really fun. But he got excited and told some people on some blogs, and so people were thinking, really? Yeah. Yeah, so people think that it's coming soon, but we haven't made the album yet, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, you know, I still need to mix my album and get that ready, and then I'm thinking that me and Freeway will go and stay in Seattle with Jake One and finish that album. But there's still, we haven't really even started it yet. But my album is the one that's coming soon.